please give a warm welcome to writer, director, producer, Denis Villeneuve.
Thank you, please. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Please, it's a long movie. Thank you.
Thank you for...
I'm so grateful and that you all came to watch the movie in such a beautiful theater. It's sunny outside. No, but seriously, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me that you are here today watching the movie on the big screen, and thank you for the invitation.
Of course. We're so happy to welcome you back. A few of us have seen most of your films this weekend, and my first question is the fact that I've loved your work ever since Incendies, and those early films were indie films that had incredible laser focus on psychological drama, and as your films keep getting bigger budget, you have not forgotten about that spirit of intimacy in the storytelling. Is that something that is difficult to balance, or is something that you enjoy? Bigger scope, bigger budget, but still harnessing the intimacy.
No, but it's at the art of what cinema is, and following to be close to those characters. And I think that at the end of the day, it's the same if you have like a crew of 14 or 800. It's just the focus around the camera stays the same. But and it's of course all that has to be in the screenplay. So I've been, I think. I'm moving towards stories that have that qualities, the stories that have these qualities. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, but you're being awfully humble. There's a lot of filmmakers that forgo the roots of storytelling with the bigger budget and the bigger scope of the filmmaking. That's never been a concern of yours.
I'm paid to protect that. No, but seriously, it's like that's what moves me, to embrace a specific point of view and to follow the journey of that character. I don't know if I answer correctly to your question, but yeah, I love it.
Well, you have charmingly. This second story, what's remarkable about it is that you could have retread what the first half did, but this feels completely different. The feel, the look, is that something you were conscious, is that give us some of the world that we saw in part one, but then give us a different world?
I had, through my filmography, I tried from one movie to the other to always approach a medium with a different genre or with different subjects, just to challenge myself, to be inspired, to try to push the boundaries, to destabilize myself, to take risk in order to be inspired. And that was the first time that I was actually revisiting the same world. And I said to the crew, first to Greg Fraser, that I wanted to make sure that there will be the DNA of how we will shoot the movie will be the same, meaning that we will shoot with natural light in real environments, but we will push the medium, playing with the vocabulary that we had designed for part one. And I asked my production designer, Patrice Vermette, that to redesign entirely, we made sure that we will never revisit space that we had seen in part one. Mm-hmm. So it needed to feel like a total new experience that the audience will not feel. My editor, Joe Walker, has a very strong image for that. He says, you don't want to feel that you're putting back wet swimsuit, a cold, wet swimsuit. It's a very strong image, I think.
Speaking of that, why did you choose to start the film with an eclipse? And that completely changes the lighting and the look, the colors of the film.
There was the idea to destabilize the audience right from the start, to tell them that this will be a different journey, and that like Paul, who is awaking, having probably some kind of power nap because they are exhausted, they are coming out of the first movie, and this idea of to be destabilized as the main character, to enhance this destabilization and bring strong colors right at the start to create that feeling of destabilization with the audience, which I always love when movies start with something that you unexpected.
You mentioned...
I apologize. More importantly, there was this idea that the Fremen will use the power of the Eclipse in order to attack. The idea that they use nature to enhance. Do I pronounce that correctly, Tanya? Enhance? Yeah, sorry, because my critic is...
Enhance.
Enhance,
correct.
thank you. The power to use nature as a weapon, and that the idea was there, yeah.
You mentioned earlier natural light. All throughout this film, we have natural light, but it's, we have different worlds, but the fascination and the study of natural light is fascinating in your film. Can you tell us about working with your DP to capture this illusion of natural light in the different worlds?
The thing is that that's one of the reasons I wanted to work with Greg Fraser, because I had seen in his previous work the strength with the power of nature and the way he captured it in his previous movie, specifically Zero Dark 30. And in this one, we mostly, I think, we didn't brought artificial lighting system in the desert. We just used the sun. And that meant that even for the night shoot, the night sequence, that's why we were shooting digital as well, because it allowed us to go very deep into the night. After the sun disappeared, to extend our period of shooting so we could shoot. So because those cameras are more sensitive than film cameras, but we didn't want to compromise. When you work, for those who do cinematography here or photography, when you use the sun. It means that you have to schedule according to the sun position and choose locations that will be proper for the action, like the opening sequence where you have that rock. It meant that we have to divide the action in different locations, maybe 12 of 16 locations, I don't remember exactly, but it was a huge amount of location in order to find the perfect angles according to sunlight with the rock behind in different places in the desert. And to do so, my cinematographer used the power of a software where he captured each location with a drone, and to have let's say that rock in the computer, so he could predict with the sun patterns if I want Lady Jessica to smash the Harkonnen soldier's helmet with a rock and having the eclipse the sun right behind her. At that place, on November 3rd, it's going to happen at 9:45. So Greg, all the whole shoot in the desert was planned this way. I think it's interesting that to think that the power of computers was used in pre-production, not as we were shooting, but in pre-production to plan the schedule so we could always have the sun in the perfect position that we wanted. Yeah.
How did you guys...
Which was a nightmare for our first AD. The first AD was when...
When we arrived to the gladiator sequence, the Harkonnen world, it turns black and white, and you use infrared cameras. How did you arrive to that incredible choice?
The thing is that in the book, everything starts in the book. In the book, what I love is that one of the things I love about the book is that it's a study how the ecosystem impact on humans. It has an impact on their culture, their beliefs, their technologies, their religion, etc., their customs, everything. If you want to know about the Fremen, you look at the desert, and it will tell you things about this specific tribe. And I thought that in the book, the information about the Harkonnens, the bad guys, where we knew that the planet was industrial, that most of the nature has been destroyed, but there wasn't. It was lacking. I said, okay, how can I bring something from nature that will inform us about their psyche a little bit more? And I thought that if the sunlight was subtracting, killing colors instead of revealing it like here, it would be interesting to know these guys in their natural environment. When they go outside on a Sunday morning, it's black and white. You know, it's like it's brutal, it's fascist light. It's like, and it will allow me to bring those images that resonate to us from World War II, and will give its proper identity to the planet. I liked the idea that the planet will have a very strong identity like this, and Greg got really excited about this idea. Of course, the truth is that it gave us the chance to work in black and white again, and we love it. But the Greg came with this idea of IR, where you change the software of the camera and you put some filter in front of it, where the only light that will come inside will be infrared, which is a kind of eerie black and white, like
correct.
And with the eyes that becomes like very sharp, and you see through the skin, you see the veins. Yeah. I know one of the gladiator had massive tattoos, and the stunt, and we covered the stunt with makeup, so you will not see, but the camera was seeing through the makeup, so I had to revisit his skin with the CGI because I was not able to erase it. Where I'm going is that IR is very unpredictable. Like, for instance, my pants could appear white and this shirt gray. So it meant that we had to test everything, all the costumes. So Federata, when he walks in the arena, doesn't look like a clown, you know, that he looks like they stay black. So there was a lot of tests, and it was very difficult to predict why some cottons or wool or plastic will react differently in front of the camera. It was very strange. So it was a lot of R&D.
I couldn't help when I was watching the film, and you alluded to fascism. I couldn't help watching the film thinking about fascism and how timely your film is about the dangers of autocracy. Is that something, when you made that choice of the black and white sequence, that you were thinking about?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that the Frank Herbert wanted Dune to be a warning against charismatic figures, again charismatic leaders that sometimes you blend religion and politics together to achieve their goal, and go into extremes like that. And it's definitely the side of Paul Atreides that is threatening the Fremen at the end, is that Harkonnen fascist side. Yeah, definitely. And I will say that shooting with IR, and I give a big compliment to the studio and my producers, because it meant that there's no way back. When we shoot, we commit. And that's a thing. Like the opening of the film is the same. We use specific filters that Greg found to find the look I wanted, and you shoot it. You cannot go back from that. I love to commit on camera. And I love that Greg has the same attitude as well.
But Denis, when the book originally came out, it was misinterpreted in the sense that they didn't see it as a warning,
Absolutely,
as a cautionary tale. But you have, in your adaptation, made sure that we understand that this is a cautionary tale.
It's a very important point. Thank you. Frank Herbert was disappointed by the way some readers, or maybe most of the readers perceived the book as a celebration of Paul Atreides. And he said in many interviews that he wanted to do the opposite. He wanted to be, as you said, a cautionary tale. And in order to correct that perspective, he wrote another book, Dune Messiah, where to make sure that his idea will be clearly received. And me knowing this, John Spade and I, the other screenwriter, we wrote this screenplay trying to be, I will say, more faithful to Frank Herbert initial desires than to the book, which means that I made, there's from the people who read the book, there's like one big difference. In the book, Shani is a believer. Shani just embraced Paul's view of things. And my movie, Shani,
She's skeptical.
she's skeptical, even she critic. She feel betrayed by Paul because he changed as on the course of the movie, and in the third act, her point of view gave us the necessary distance to understand that Paul went wrong. So Shani becomes a much more important character in the movie than in the book.
Mm-hmm. I adore the editing of this film. The first half, it was slower pace. In this editing, the second half, it's quicker, but you still find time to let the Freeman culture breathe in. And in the last act, I noticed that the point of view shifts to Zendaya's Shani's character. Can you tell us about shaping through the editing, the story, and the pacing, the rhythm?
Man, those movies are very long to edit, of course, because of the amount of visual effects. And I'm working with a fantastic artist, Joe Walker, that we are brothers in arms. I think we spent months in the editing room to find the right balance between the atmosphere, and I wanted this movie to be more muscular than for the first one, which is a more meditative movie, I would say. The first movie is a story of a boy who discover a new landscape, a new planet, a new culture, and that is a totally victim of the events. He's an old teenager, he has absolutely no power. In part two, this boy becomes a man, takes into action, become a guerrilla leader, and I wanted the movie to be more propulsive. But at the beginning, of course, you are coming out of part one, so I just tried to ease the rhythm at the beginning, so we have time to have this kind of immersive feeling with the culture, and then when it's set, then it starts more to be more of an action movie. Yeah.
And the subtle
change to shine. Yeah, sorry, it takes a long time in the cutting room. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you know all along? Zendaya is phenomenal in this film, but she telegraphs so much in her observation. You cut a lot to her just observing, but there's so much information that she conveys solely on observing. Were you aware that she was going to be able to deliver that?
First of all, she's a phenomenal actress. I mean, we saw her in Euphoria or different movies. I know that when we were working together, we worked a week in the desert on part one. But I was already shooting moments where she was observing Paul as he fights. I was fascinated. I love actresses and actors that are good listeners. People that I can put the camera during a dialogue scene and see their whole way of thinking, feeling the gears moving inside their brain and feeling the tension rising or the fear. I love to watch people listening to somebody. I love watching you listen to me. No, it's a joke. No, stupid joke, sorry. Yeah, I knew doing part one, I knew she had, and it was written this way. So I remember having discussions with Mary Parent at Legendary saying, don't we lose Shani at the end too much? There's no line. And I said, no, it's not about lines. It's about her receiving, and I will take care of her through each scene. And we will, sometimes it's the power of a close-up, power of close-ups.
Which leads me to my next point, is that this film tells us, the second half in particular, that femininity is a power in this world. And we see it in Lady Jessica, we see it in Chani, and we see it in all the other female characters. Is that something that you were striving for, the fact that women hold the power in the story?
It is. They are, and it's a thing that I love in the novel. That when I read it, there are feminist quality in the novel. Frank Herbert, there was like feminist elements in the novels that I think I brought up more to the surface by focusing the movie on the Bene Gesserits, the sisterhood. When you adapt, you kill. I mean, I made choices. So for those who knows the book, you will notice, of course, that I made bold choices focusing more specifically the movie on the Bene Gesserit sisters, meaning the Reverend Mother, Lady Jessica, Irulan, all those characters pops up because I didn't brought the rest of the other school of thought from the book, because I thought it was the Bene Gesserit. I thought as we were doing the adaptation that it was the Bene Gesserit sisters were the most interesting, meaningful thing in the book. And I think that I've been interested and fascinated by the relationship between women and power since a very long time. It's not something that I started to do with my first.
No, yeah, we see it in Sicario, we see it in Nonsense.
Yeah, even in my early movies, I think it came from being very comfortable with femininity, being raised in a family where women were. I wish you had met my grandmothers. They are something, and they were very strong women, and I think that it comes probably from there, being surrounded, raised by a strong woman. Yeah, for being fascinated by that.
We see that in Arrival. Amy Adams' character is one of the most powerful women in sci-fi, and yeah, kudos to you. Why in the book? Lady Jessica gives birth, but you hold the pregnancy throughout the film. I understand why you did it, but I'd love to hear from you why it was important for her to hold the pregnancy throughout
the thing is that one other difference with the book is that we compress the time at the end to increase the pressure on Paul Atreides. And so he doesn't have the time to really settle, to have deep roots in the society, that he's like doesn't have the time to organize himself. So we increase the pressure by doing so, and I thought that it would be interesting to follow a mother that is pregnant without seeing the outcome. I don't think, I'm sure everything has been done, but I never saw a movie where we see a pregnant woman that doesn't give birth. and I, by the way, I'm sorry? Fargo. Here we go. I knew it. Okay. That was quick. The Coens. But but it is one thing, you're right, and the character in Fargo is, there's something about pregnancy. It's women. It's such a visually powerful. The idea that a woman creating her life, that strong image of motherhood, I think it's something that I've seen in trailers, never in sci-fi. Okay, but I feel that it was something that will be interesting also to bring some kind of the Bene Gesserit madness to the screen, meaning that Lady Jessica having conversation with her growing babies in her belly. I thought that was pretty fucked up, if you don't mind. and I love the idea that when John and I came with John Spate and I came with the idea, I thought it was a very interesting way to explore this idea that the embryo who had been contaminated by the water of life will have suddenly memories and will be conscious before being born, and to have the time to express this idea, we thought that it will be interesting that she doesn't give birth, and then to keep it for maybe later.
Awesome. In the original book, we just hear Paul rides the worm, but in your adaptation, there is such specificity about the mounting and of the worm and the writing, which is, it leads to one of the most spectacular sequences, which is him riding the worm. Can you tell us about creating that specificity? And And why did you need to create such specificity?
But the thing is that it's true. There are clues in the book. We know they use thumpers. They are the hooks. They have there's clues, but about the details of it. How do you jump on a worm? How do you get on that beast? How do you attach yourself? There was a lot of missing links, things that I had to figure out, which is exciting, by the way. So but I imagine the full process of worm riding, and I was concerned also. I wanted it to look edgy, dangerous, like a motorbike driver. It's something that you feel speed and danger, and that it looks edgy, and then I came with a theory how we should approach it, and because I didn't want to compromise visually again, I wanted to use sunlight to do that. We had great success doing part one with visual effects, using the power of the sun instead of doing this on stage. To do this with, but that will mean a lot of time. So it was like we had to design a specific unit that will dedicate itself on this, just to the R&D, the research and development, to find out, to make sure that the theory will apply to practice, and each shot required a tremendous amount of time. So sometimes half a day, sometimes a day, sometimes a week to achieve one shot, because technically it was super complex to do, to create that feeling of speed. We wanted to try to capture as much as possible on camera, not having a worm, of course, but trying to create as much as possible. So it was like a journey. Yeah.
I'm friends with one of your actors that this actor told me that you made all the actors involved in that sequence go to Denis sandworm writing school. Can you tell us about this writing school?
No, but it's just that there was I'd imagine the technique, what it would look like, and with the help, I must mention the help of producer Tanya Lapointe, that was there to help me to bring that on screen. Tanya is here with us today. She was director as well, and she was my eyes and my ears on the worm unit that I was directing both units, meaning that I was directing my unit and this unit that was going at different pacing. So I was able to, nearby our stages. So Greg Fraser and I, we could interact and give guidance, but I needed someone on the ground to make sure things will move forward. And then Tanya was essential to the success of this process, making sure that I will have exactly the shot I wanted. Mm-hmm. And she was like Navy SEAL, and Tanya helped me tremendously, because being a dancer in the past, ballet dancer, she knew a lot about position, and helped the stunt to fulfill the angles and the position I wanted to have. And so it was like. I don't know if I answered correctly to your question, but it was like a process. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You shot in the sand dunes, and there's a lyricism to the way the dunes look. Were you specific about finding the right sand dunes?
We look like Greg Fraser, Patrice Vermette, and I. We look like madmen sometimes, because you are in the middle in Abu Dhabi in a desert of 100 miles of square miles of thousands of square miles, and we're deep in the desert and looking. Not that one. That one, no. That one, no. What about that one? We spent days and days scouting the desert. Why? Because you need sometimes something that will have a specific slope according to a specific direction with sun. And it's not, we figured out, because we did the whole sequence, like the worm riding as an example, was designed so Paul will ride, see the worm coming backlit, and then run on the edge of that dune, and the worm appearing on the dark side of the dune. And Paul will have to fall and dive toward the beast. And that I had written that, remembering how the desert, there was like those big cliff in Abu Dhabi of sand, like 100, I don't know, 200 or 300 foot tall or something. It's Am I right? Yeah, something that tall is very tall, but they were not facing the right sun position. The right, and Greg was like, we can. So we had to. It was very long to finally be able to find a wall that will fit for some shots, and other shots we had to build our own sand dunes. So that will look really mad, asking a bulldozer to build dune in the desert. That will be in the right position for Greg. That we didn't look very intelligent. No.
And did you
But
have?
it works.
And did you have? This is how obsessive I am when I watch your films. I was thinking, did you have gremlins that cleaned up the sand after?
No. You are well informed. That's one of the most poetic scene I think I've seen, because of course the enemy when you shoot in the desert is like when you shoot in snow. It's footsteps. And it meant that some sets that we had to reuse the next day, the way you do it is that you have an army of people with brooms at sunset, and you see people brooming the desert. It was you feel a bit megalomaniac, but you have to do it, because then to broom, and then the wind will do its job during the night, and then you can come back and shoot again the next.
And were
day.
you up above, going like, okay, you didn't get that part over there?
Unfortunately, yes. The thing is that you had to the crew. It required a lot of discipline, and we built some specific sidewalk, and not. I don't know how to say that. Like it was all eco-friendly, but it's like things that you can walk on, so the crew doesn't step onto our sets, and it required a lot of discipline.
I want to ask you about the character of Stilgar, played by the amazing Javier Bardem. It's a tragic figure, but then he adds humor. There's comedic aspects to when he says things. Is that, can you tell us about the genesis of?
Yeah, the thing is that for me, it's probably the most tragic figure. Someone that gentle soul that will become some kind of fanatic because of his beliefs. I thought it was like something very tragic, and I wanted people to fall in love with him. And I wanted to feel the warmth of his heart, and I wanted us to love him. And a thing that I think is always to bring a kind of candor in his reactions. I thought, and I think what is very funny is the way Stilgar expressed things, and the way Paul, played by Timothée, receive it, which is then the humor appears, and the duo, the tandem of them was brought a lot of joy to my heart. Yeah.
And speaking of Timothée Chalamet as Paul, I was blown away by the fact that in between 1 and 2, we see this arc of a man coming onto his powers, but simultaneously we watch an actor become a movie star and coming into his powers as an actor. Were you aware that this arc was going to happen? That the trajectory of the character matches?
But no, at that I could not predict, but I knew that Timothy was a bit older than the part in part 1. I knew he looked tremendously young. It's one of the reasons I choose him. He has like kind of, you have the feeling of an old soul, and at the same time he looks very young, like an old teenager in part 1. And I wanted to have that shift where he becomes an adult in part 2. And of course, Timothy himself getting more life experience, getting more and more mature. It's the first time that it's a privilege for a filmmaker to have the chance to see an actor growing up in front of his lens. And it's probably maybe the only time it will happen in my life, but it was beautiful to follow Timothy and having him coming back on part 2 with much more assurance, much more. He had more experience from part 1. He had done some movies in between. I just felt he was like a leading man in part 2. As in part 1, he was like an actor coming from the indie movies where he was trying to find his ground, how to evolve in a movie set of that size with all these actors around. I was feeling very, let's say, responsible, as almost like a father figure to him in part 1, because I wanted to protect him, to try to, but he found his own way, and doing part 2, it was beautiful to see him growing up. Yeah.
I would be remiss not to ask you about the great Hans Zimmer, who did the music score in the first one, and now, you know, tell us about working with him and how stunning the score is.
Yeah, Hans is very someone special. Is just to have the chance to see how he works, how he is open, how confident and fragile and vulnerable at the same time, and the incredible power that he brings to the movie, the music. I've never made both part one and part two are by far my most musical. I don't know if a movie, meaning that there's most of my previous work, there's not a lot of music, but in Dune I felt that it will bring the certain qualities that I was in need: spirituality, a sense of sacred, to more and make sure that we identify the tribes, to give a layer, under layer of intentions to characters in the book. For those who knows the book, we have access to the thought process, the thought of the character. Most of the book is written about it's a very paranoid book where people, we read everybody is thinking what they are thinking about each other, etc., etc. I didn't want to do that, to add voiceovers here. So Hans helped me to bring those kind of feeling of sensation that the characters are going through. And he's... the main thing I said to him, there was a lot of new music to create, like for the Harkonnens or all that Fremen. There's tons of new score, but one that I said that I need a love theme, and when it's gonna be crucial because the whole movie is structured on Paul and Shani's relationship, the birth of their love. The love story, the how they struggle with the politic of the world and how politics will divide them. And when I talked about a love story, Hans became white, and I said, "What's happening?" He said, "Those are the toughest one." and he spent months and months, and when he came with that theme that we hear at the end, when it's heartbreaking theme. It's one of the most beautiful music I've. I'm very privileged to work with an artist of that caliber. We say that.
Yeah, of course.
I don't use the word genius very often, but Hans is a genius. Honestly, he's very impressive. Yeah.
I read somewhere, I think it was an interview with you, that when part one ended, he started sending you themes, and you told him, "I already wrapped the film. What is this about?" And it was to inspire you for part two. Cheeky question: has he started sending you themes for part three already?
He was. It's true what you said. I said, Hans, the movie it came out 6 months ago, and you still send me score. Yeah, he will. We were talking about that last night. He was like, "Give me a word, any word. Give me a word. I want to start to score." He said, "Yeah, but I'm shooting." And okay, no. but yeah, he's a force, and I love the fact that because he creates a lot of instruments, he really tried to bring a music that. Will come from another world, and using human voice, the power of human voice, those fantastic singers that are on the tracks, and he wants to go back there. It's very stimulating for me.
One of the many things I admire about this film is the fact that any other filmmaker would have made very black and white, good and evil. Every character, every scene in your film is nuanced. Characters, even the characters that are super evil, have a nuanced aspect to them. Can you?
I think it's a thing. I mean, I don't believe in pure evil. I think that unfortunately, it's inside us. And that's, I think that I don't see the world being black and white. It's always dependent on the point of views. Of course, some people are horrible, but but there's always humanity somewhere, and that's where hope is, maybe. And it's like, the world is filled with nuances, and we are in a world where we are polarized right now, which is not good. Yeah.
Once part 3 is done, you will have been working 10 years in this world. Is this something that you find exhilarating, trepidation, that you spend 10 years of your life working on this project?
It went so fast so far. But I will say, to say that like that, listen, when I was a kid, I started to dream about making films. One project I wanted to bring to the screen was Dune. I was 12 years old, 13 years old, and I said, wow, that would make a fantastic film. So that today I'm in front of you talking about it and saying that I've made already the adaptation of first book form, it's mind-blowing for me to think about that I had the chance, the privilege to do that. And I'm still deeply inspired by Arrakis. That's I thought that after part 2 I will be like, I would want to go away. And I want to leave that thing for 10 years or something, and that. But no, I still want to shoot with Fremen, it seems.
Did you find that you build this world in part 1? Did you find that invigorating for part 2? That you've already established the world. Now I'm just going to push it even further and build on it.
It was as I said, it was a first experience for me to revisit a world like that. I don't think I could. First of all, I'm not Dune doesn't belong to me. I'm invited. I'm a tourist in it. I'm happy to add the chance to bring this book to the screen. And I don't think I will be able to spend the rest of my life there. I think it's interesting to make those 2 movies and maybe a 3rd one, and after that I will do something else. I think it will be healthy for me to do a movie about duck hunting, or I don't know.
Well, you call Hans Zimmer a genius. We call you a genius. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.